Welcome. In this session of Down to Earth, we would focus on some of the important topics. One of this is creation of mini forests. Now, this is a story from the regions of Deccan Plateau in India, and here the areas of grasslands have been turned into forest land. Now, this area of Maharashtra, which lies in the Satara district, the Vinchour village, is one such area where lakes, orchids, grasslands have been developed, and the starting was the point where Gandhiji's journey began in 1951 with the Bhoodan Andolan led by Vinoba Bhave, and thereafter Gandhiji actually encouraged people to learn more about agroforestries and sustainable practices. So his first initiative was to construct lake in a region of 9 hectares for storage of water and replenishing the groundwater. So he dug 5 kilometers of zero contour water to capture every drop of rainfall. Now this was aimed to prevent soil erosion as well as protect the forest at that time, but it wasn't the end. Also, fencing of the land was done to prevent the animals from intruding into the region, and this region now hosts nearly 200 different varieties of birds, migratory birds, and has brought an example of sustainability. Now, at that time, medicinal Guggul plant, which was used mainly in the region, was a boon because this plant actually has the roots which go very deep, break the rock soil, and enhance the soil erosion and soil quality. Also, there were vegetations which were grown for commercial purpose like chiku, papaya, mango were some of the trees. Besides this, a jaggery unit was started, and even till now, Gandhiji's niece, that is Madhavi, she manages the farms along with the siblings, taking care of the farm, the animals, as well as the food producing unit. It does has a residential school with around 70 students studying in the region, and Gandhiji's one of the favorite idea was hosting an annual watermelon harvest. Now this was whenever there was an abundant first crop, he invited the school children for this feast, and this was for nearly 10 years till the time the peacocks actually brought a disruption into the region. However, this has been a good initiative, we could say, and has brought substantial results in the drought affected areas of Maharashtra and has been replicated to the nearby states. The next is India is among one of the nations which have been at the verge of the worst climate events in the centuries, and India has experienced disasters on nearly 93% of the days. This includes cyclonic depressions, floods, droughts, unusual wet monsoons, and 7 of the months of 2024 till now have documented extreme weather events in some part or the other part. This could be in the form of landslides. So the Extreme Weather Atlas reports that India has events on nearly 255 days out of the 274 days so far, and this has led to nearly 3,000 deaths and impacted nearly 2.8 million hectares cropland. And it is believed that because of this climate issues, there could be climate induced migration at many places, not only in India but globally. Even University of California, San Diego has started a compulsory course on climate change for all students graduating for 2028 and beyond. That is, for this first year, this has become a mandate for 7,000 students enrolled in the university. Similar initiatives have been seen in other parts as well. Now, because of the climate change and wet monsoon periods, there have been a surge in the mosquito-borne diseases. Ukraine has experienced a significant outbreak of West Nile fever, and this has reported numerous fatalities. Also, there has been dengue cases on rise in the regions of Europe in the recent areas. Warmer areas are the areas which are more prone and susceptible to mosquitoes, and with climate change, Europe is getting warmer than usual, and therefore these cases have increased. Droughts over the globe have increased, and they have led to higher power outages. For example, in Zambia, because of the drought and El Nino combined, we have seen that the power generation at Kariba Dam has been affected, which led to 3 days of complete blackout in October. Similarly, in Ecuador, there was a worst drought in last 60 years, and power cut has brought the supplies of energy to 70%. In Amazon rainforest, there have been extensive power shortages which are affecting the regions of Brazil, where hydroelectric dams are at their critical low levels. Similarly, Costa Rica has talked about rationing electricity due to declining water levels. There has been a report which is called as Global Drought Overview September 2024 that says 3 important factors leading to the drought are El Nino, Indian Ocean Dipole, and tropical North Atlantic. Then the next important topic is treating the fecal sludge, and this includes 2 treatments, primary as well as secondary. Now, one of the major issues is the designing, which makes it costly and also ineffective. This concept of flush treatment, fecal sludge treatment, was started with Devanhali in Karnataka in 2017 under the National Fecal Sludge and Septage Management Policy. There have been nearly 1500 such FSTPs which have been built with nature-based solutions, which include anaerobic processes and sedimentation, and they do not rely on electromechanical processes. One such has been initiated in Jhansi. In Uttar Pradesh itself, there are 59 such treatment plants which have been established. 23 of them are equipped with screw press machines and unplanted drying beds for sludge dewatering. But still, we have seen that there have been co-treatments which have been done. That means the treatment at the first level, which directs the liquid waste into a separate treatment plant before it could be used further. And then there are secondary modules. This could be anaerobic baffled reactors, which could be septic tank. It could be phytorets, which are actually porous materials where stones which are crushed for wastewater treatment are used, and so on and so forth. So these STP inlets are again a very important point of concern, but one of the major things we have seen here is that there are untreated waste which is combining with the STP treated content which is coming, and then the inlet designs are poor. So these are some of the operational inefficiencies, we could say, which are affecting the actual treatment and increasing the cost thereby. So secondary treatment should be properly sized to check out the unwanted treatments and the rates, right? The next is how do we check the catastrophe. So mining has been one of the major issues in many areas, and we have seen that soapstone mining in the Dapti Vijaypur village has led to migration of the local people because of noise pollution and constant dust. Now the roadside storage, we have seen soapstones are packed in sacks and dumped along the roads, and this has been known for soft silicate production. This soapstone is used for paints, paper and cosmetic. Now many houses have developed crack. The residential areas have become detrimental. The mining efforts are being intensified, and with constant cracks and river damages that have been seen, the residents are now moving to the nearby areas specifically for their cattle feed. They also believe that this mining dust accumulates on the plants and the leaves which cattle actually utilize, and as a result animal diseases are growing. There is one very special herb which was commonly seen in the regions and the sidewalks of Delhi, which is known as Purnanava. Now Purnanava has become a very rare thing in Delhi. This is a crop which grows very quickly. Even from a small twig it can regrow, but this has reduced significantly and has a lot of medicinal values. The term Purnanava actually means rejuvenation in Sanskrit and has been popularly used. It remains dry and dormant during the summers and actually regenerates during the rainy season. Now It is used to treat blood dysentery. That is being a technique used by Bhil community in Madhya Pradesh. Then Ambikapur district, it is used to treat elephantiasis. It has two variants, white flowers and red flowers. So they have two different use. White flower variant is the verticillata and the red flower variant is called as the Bohemia diffusa. So both of these varieties have their own use, and the plant, if it is more fleshy, then it is considered as a common diet across various communities. So Kandha community in Odisha actually uses this paste to treat snake bites. Similarly, Saharia tribes in central India actually use this plant to heal the wounds. There has been usage in the regions of the tribal communities by Guna in the regions of Guna district in Madhya Pradesh for Purnava as a diuretic, which increases or addresses which increases the amount of urine and addresses the problems of urinary issues as well as jaundice. In Ayurveda, again, the white flowered plant is considered as a treatment for conditions like anemia, inflammation, abdominal disorders, flatus, toxins, phalgum. Red flower variant is used to treat diseases like cataract. So this have been some of the therapies, but the compounds which are found in it are mainly phenolics, rotenoids and flavonoids, which are very, very unique. The next is one of the special surveys which has been done, which talks about cultivation being contributing to 1/3 of the agricultural household incomes, and this All India Rural Finance Inclusion Survey talks about NABARD study with 57% households relying on agriculture as their main means. Specifically, the small and marginal farmers, the size of the land holdings are decreasing, the income are decreasing, but still farmers are being into agriculture, but now they are being compelled to move out of agriculture as well. So there has been a term which is called as effective adaptation, which talks about resilience of the marginal farmers with decreasing income in the cultivation. They are trying to shift to other options. 30% of the agricultural households have reported crop failures, and this could be due to excessive erratic rainfall, pest infections, or it could be because of drought, cyclones, landslides. So these are some of the common reasons that have been cited for the loss of the cropping and agriculture. The next is steel in India and the steel scrapping policy. Very, very important. India talks about doubling the GDP by 2030, and steel actually is a major challenge because it is talking about growth with sustainability. So steel actually contributes only 2% of the GDP production, but it helps us increase the per capita income for an individual, and therefore supporting the steel policy is really important. So National Steel Policy 2017 talks about raising the steel production from 122 million tons to 300 million tons, which is significantly higher, and each ton of the scrap which is used in the steel conserves 1.1 tons of iron, 630 kilos of coking coal and 55 kilos of limestone, which is a very high figure. This also cuts the water consumption by 40 and decreases the greenhouse gas emissions by 58%. Now, therefore, steel scrap is considered as a positive policy, and a steel scrap recycling policy was implemented in 2019. The lifespan of steel is considered as nearly 46 years, and after that, beyond that, we talk about the recycling and the reuse again, right? Now, there have been two important sectors associated to it. So one is the informal sector and the other is the organized efforts to collect it. There was a first green stainless steel hydrogen plant which was launched in March 2024, and that is aimed to cut the carbon emissions by 2,700 tons every year, reduce carbon dioxide emissions by 54,000 tons in the next 2 decades. So that's again a significantly important figure. So whenever we talk about the practices for restricting the things, there are 3 important things that must be taken into account. One is collection of scrap, the next is sorting, and the third is distribution, and joint efforts from the government are required for this purpose. The next is a very, very important topic, the Anusandhan National Research Foundation, ANRF, which has been established and talks about India's focus on innovation, which is the basis for the growth of any country. Now, among the industry, India's industries spend nearly 37% as part of the R&D. However, these figures are 77% in China, 75% in United States, which is significantly higher. Even as part of GDP, if we say, India spends only 0.64% of the GDP. However, the same figures for Israel are nearly 5.7%, for United States at 3.4%, which are significantly higher. That means our simple lack of awareness about the importance and recognition of a strong education policy has a deep impact on the innovation processes in India, and therefore we are hindering our society from a path of innovative society. The next is, there are frequent talks about focusing on the ground realities, and innovate, patent, produce and prosperous are some of the important aspects which have been laid down under the Indian Science Congress. There has been one of the very respected scientists, Dr. Suresh, and he has achieved a rare distinction of being elected to all three academies of United States, the National Academy of Science, Engineering and Medicine. Beyond that, he is also a member of American Academics of Arts and Science and National Academy of Inventors. And as a result, he has been focusing on interdisciplinary approach for reformulations in the university to encourage integration of social sciences in the mainstream, and this would be a way forward where scientists could be more inclusive. So his idea of launching Innovation Corps program in 2012 during his tenure as an NSF chief was very, very important. The next is a burgeoning problem of light pollution. Now, in simple terms, this problem is very, very simple to handle because we can reduce the amount of light at night, and this would have a very great impact. Now, you might wonder how light pollution could be an issue. One of the important things is the flora and the fauna around gets disrupted. Birds actually lose their senses of migration, of movement, and they consider and confuse day and night. Similarly, the nocturnal animals are the worst affected and they change their spatial activity. So they might move towards residential areas and could be a threat to the residential areas as well. Similarly, the bats actually are one of the major pollinators and they have a nocturnal cycle, but because of light pollution their nocturnal cycle gets disrupted, and this is again one of the things which have affected significantly. Now, if we believe light pollution is a very low hanging fruit, this could be easily checked, and if we look onto the status, we would see that the ratio of natural brightness where some of the nations are at a very high verse, the others at a very slow verse. So these are some of the things that we understand gets disrupted because of the day and night cycle. So it leads to fatal attraction because the rhythmic cycle of day and night for the animals changes. There is a chaos in the ecology, and then it also contributes to human disorders like cardiovascular disorders, diabetes, depression, hypertension, obesity, and then we understand what kind of lighting are there. So some of the major lightings we must address are whether they are road lighting, whether they are for aesthetic purpose, whether they are on bridges, whether they are a facade lighting. So all of these have their own impacts and they affect certain species. Then we talk about another important aspect, which is the forests and how they are being affected. They have a very strong defense against climate change, but the scenario for the forest have been changing recently. We have seen that there have been historical weather records which have come from plantation agriculture, tea estates, and they have affected the local agriculture and the local conditions in very many parts. If we look onto the forest figures here, we have seen how climate change has been significantly affecting the areas in India. Now, another important aspect is the dwindling population. So, for example, Uttar Kannada in Karnataka receives 59% less than the usual rainfall, and as a result, there was a significant impact on monkey jackfruit, which is called as Waterbodies, and this is usually used as a condiment with tubers. Now, this production has been affecting the population. Similarly, we have seen that rice and wheat combinations have been seen in the regions of Punjab, but again this would require a lot of water, and as a result dry zones are being seen for groundwater table. Nearly 1.4 million tons of tube wells are running to pump the paddy fields for 8 hours, and with such irrigation the underground level is reducing and the region is converting into a desert area. Similarly, there were incentives to bring in different crops and crop diversification. So moong crop was being asked for. However, the farmers got a crop rate of only 6,000, which was under MSP at nearly 8,000 plus. So this has affected the farmers' incentive to go for diversification. If the prices and the remuneration turn out to be unrealistic, then this policy could actually not be achieved. Similarly, when there are weeds, they are affecting the crops. So Sena spectabilis in Wayanad has reduced the availability of food in the forest, and this has a constant interaction between human and wildlife. As a result, tiger population, which was confined in a very small areas, with the developmental activities they are now moving in the outer areas, and as a result there is altering rainfall patterns, rising temperature, and they are going close to human settlement. Similarly, we have seen in the south the elephants are going closer to the human settlements and they are causing frequent damage to the crops. So there has been nearly 150% increase in the population of peacocks in the regions of Kerala since 2000, and this has led to a significant reduction in reptiles, snakes, and ultimately this has disrupted the food web cycle. So there has been impacts which we have seen of climate change in and around. The next is, when the climate impacts the forest areas, there are three indicators we must look for. One is the changes in the seasonal patterns, the second is the vegetation, and third is the biodiversity being affected. And all of these have led to the soil loss in the region, and they have been referred to. For example, in the regions of Punjab, the districts of Moga, Patiala, Faridkot and Bhatinda, we have seen that the Kheti Virasat mission has been brought, and the average soil organic carbon content is only 0.3 to 0.8, which should be somewhere between 1.5 to 2% and is significantly low. Similarly, the microbial activities are poor, so nitrogen is converted into ammonia, which plants can utilize through mycorrhiza, and this has been affected significantly. This has led to a reduction in the soil productivity, ultimately affecting the region and the growing patterns. So there has been various schemes brought for it. Soil health scheme is one such a scheme. Support systems have been brought. There are various ways forwards for weed paddy cycles which have been suggested. Nitrogen fixing crops to be implemented, which increase the soil productivity, and crop diversification should be more realistic, as we said. The next is the GM policy, the genetically modified crops. So mustard is one such. The variety is Dhara mustard hybrid DMH11. Similarly, there are three other crops for which controversies has been in and around for GM crop. One is cotton, mustard and maize. Now there have been alternatives to the GM crops which have been overlooked due to patent issues, and there has been one such single dominant gene which has been involved, and Bayer's drought guard corn is one such product. The failure of the product which could be an example which can be cited here, right? So there are to be brought into account the policies and the actions for the same. Now some other important news we have seen: the India's Navy is planning to have a new low frequency radar systems for environmental concerns. We are talking about surveys for assessment of dolphin population, not only in India but globally. Indus and Ganga species of dolphin are very unique, and the specific data for the freshwater dolphins would be released. India is aimed to have a very high increase in the cancer cases between 2022 to 2045, and patients would be mainly breast and cervical cancers in female, prostate, lung and oral cancers in male. Now 37% of the Europe's water body is under good or high ecological status, but 29% has reached a good chemical status, which is very less. That means habitat degradation, pollution and climate change have a significant impact on the freshwater bodies and the resources. Flash floods have been seen recently in Spain. The Dana was the name. Then we have seen similar things in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So it has become a global phenomena, and within 8 to 10 minutes of rainfall, there has been significant damage to the inland areas, mainly because of the concretization, the changes in the floodplain structures of the region. This has impacted the area significantly. So those are some of the important things that we have discussed in this lecture. Thanks for joining in. And yes, we do bring in down to earth fortnightly. The summaries are released towards the end of the month every month. So please subscribe, stay tuned, and if you have any concerns or queries, feel free to post those in the comment below. Thanks for joining in.